Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I've got a great project for you today. Let's look at this quilt behind me. Isn't this great? This is really fun and it looks like so much work. Wait till you see how easy it is. So to make this quilt, what you're going to need is one roll of 2.5-inch strips. That's 40 of them, and we've used Madame Rouge by French General for Moda. You're also going to need some 2.5-inch strips of your solid color. And we've used 2 yards of fabric for that, but because they are 2.5-inch strips, you can actually use a jelly roll of those, but you won't use them all. So just know that. That's also what we did for our first outer border. We included that in the 2 yards of background fabric that you need. For your border, you're going to need 1 yard, and we have a little 6-inch border out there, and it just looks really cool. Now, if you want to back this quilt with the same fabric, you're going to need 4 yards, and we've used this beautiful piece that comes from the line. And I mean, it's just a great piece. So also, last but not least, you're going to need the basic X block. And this is so much fun. First of all, I love the packaging. It's just so cute. It's got all kinds of tips and ideas. You keep opening and opening, and here's your ruler, your basic X ruler in there. But I love how it gives you all kinds of other ideas as well as the one I'm showing you today. So it's really fun packaging. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew strip sets together, and I have taken 2 strips from my roll of color and sewn them together with 1 strip of background color. We just did 1/4-inch seams, and we sewed straight down them and sewed strip sets together, and I did this with my whole roll. And so then you have to cut your X blocks. Now this is a regular square, just a straight square, but the lines on it are kind of diagonally. And so what you're going to do is you're going to lay this on here, and I have this over a little bit so you can see the lines, but this line here is going to match up on this edge here. Now there's a couple of things I want to point out. Your 1/4-inch is pretty important on this. Even if it's a little scant, that's okay. The other thing to remember is right here you can see my block actually sticks a little bit over the edge. That won't matter because it's going to be enclosed in the seam. So don't worry about that. Then what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and cut these out. So I lay my line up on here. And actually this is important too. You want to make sure that your block stays the same. So, I'm putting it so that I can read the word. And then I'm lining it up here on my lining one side. I'm just making sure one side matches with the seam. And we're just going to go ahead and make these cuts. And we're going to cut it on all 4 sides, just like this. And we're going to do this to the whole strip. Once you get all your pieces cut, you should have 7 blocks. So what we're going to do with these 7, oh, actually you'll have some of these little leftover pieces too, and they actually even give you ideas of what to do with the leftovers, and you know I love that because we don't want too much waste. So be sure and take a look at those. But what we're going to do with this is we're going to make a star. Now when I put my quilt together, you can do the whole thing scrappy, but I actually wanted some stars to come together. So I made as many of these stars as I could, and out of each strip set, you're going to get 1 whole block like this. So 4 of them makes a block, and you're going to have 3 leftover pieces. Now when you put this together, you know, they all go the same way, but you just rotate them so that it makes this star. Then you're going to sew these 2 together and these 2 together, just like this. And I'm going to take them over to the sewing machine and do that. And again, we're going to try and stick with that 1/4 inch. And I'm just going to line these up. Sew down that one. Here comes the next one. Now before you sew the 2 together, you want to open them up and make sure that they're going the right direction, that you didn't accidentally sew the wrong 2. So here it is. You can see that's going to work. And I'm just going to lay this together, and I'm going to do it before I iron it. You can iron if you want to. It doesn't really matter. What you want to make sure you do is nest your seams so that one seam goes one direction, one seam goes the other. And sometimes that's a little easier to do before you've ironed, for me anyway. But that's, you know, again, that's personal. There are all kinds of ironing opinions out there. All right, so then we have a block that looks like this. Now you'll notice, because this is all the same fabric, this isn't crucial with this meeting point, but it's always nice when they come together. So now I'm just going to press this from the top, and you want to make sure that there are no pleats or folds in your seams, because you want to, that changes the size of your block, and you want your blocks to match up. Then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to make my seams go the way they want to go. They're pretty opinionated, these little seams, and so you just kind of flatten them down, because we're really looking for a nice flat block. Now you're going to go ahead and do that with every strip set you've got. Now let's look at the quilt real quick. So here's my whole stars right here, and they're in the center. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 4 by 5 in the center that we're going to put together. So once you get your blocks done, then you're going to want to sew those together. And seriously, they're just going to come together like this. What it's going to mean for your quilt is you're going to have one set of stars that matched and one set that's scrappy, which I kind of like that. But then you have all these leftover blocks right here. You get 3 out of each strip set. So what I went ahead and did was I went ahead and sewed halves together, star halves, and I'll do that right here. We'll just sew one real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. Because I didn't want to waste these blocks, and I wanted to make my quilt bigger, so I bordered the whole thing with these halves, and I'll show you how they work, how that works right here. So then what we're going to do is we're going to put these together like this, and you see how it's going to form whole new stars up here. So your half line's the top. So here it is right here. See, here's our half block, and it comes on the top, but then there forms a scrappy star right here. So you've got your whole star and your scrappy, and you're going to scrap on each corner, but then all the way around the top and the sides, I use these half blocks so that I would be able to get more bang for my buck, more bang for my buck, and they go in all the way around, just like that. So I really enjoyed making this quilt. I love the line and I loved the ruler, and we hope you enjoy this tutorial on the basic X block quilt from the Missouri Star Quilt Company.